So, Bart, it's such an honor to meet you. We thank you so much for taking the time today, to be on our Community of Practice channel here on YouTube. So, on behalf of SETC, we want to thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome. So, as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show. And my name is Bart Egnal. I'm CEO of the Humphrey Group, and the Humphrey Group is in the leadership communication business. So, what does that mean? I mean, it sounds kind of generic, but what it really means is that we think the ability to influence and inspire is a skill, and it's one that can be taught, developed, and honed. And that is really our business. And so, we're very fortunate to work with leaders from all walks of life, all industries, from government to corporations, from not-for-profits to and across North America and the world. I've been in the business for over 20 years. I've owned it for 10 years, and I'm very proud of what we do. And we also have a special history and track record of doing work in the diversity, equity, inclusion space. We believe that all voices deserve to be heard, and so we work with organizations who share that belief to empower people to speak up, be heard, and be recognized. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of the work. Our firm has about 25 employees and 35 talented consultants who deliver the work, and we love what we do.
Wow, that sounds so awesome. Very creative. Love it. And can you articulate your mission and vision for us and tell us what inspires you about the work you do?
Sure. Yeah, it really does start with why. I think, when you look at and when you've been in the business that I'm in, you're very fortunate to be working to do something that actually impacts people's lives. And we think when the world is more connected, when humans are connected better and people can share their ideas, uh, they feel more fulfilled and great things happen. So our mission is to teach the skills that allow people to share their ideas in a way that inspires action. And so every day, every program, whether you're taking a program with us on storytelling or executive presence or writing, it really is with that mission in mind of helping you figure out, hey, what do you believe in? What do you want to share with the world, and how do you do that authentically? And to the vision, I've been, it's funny, I've done a lot of visions. You asked me, I've been when you've been in the business for over 20 years, you've come up with a lot of visions. So you keep kind of rolling the vision forward. And I do think that a lot of what I had hoped for 10 years ago, if you'd asked me what the vision, it would be that people understood the role of communication in their success. People were empowered to speak up, that, there was more openness to leaders from all walks of life and all intersectionalities coming forward and being able to speak authentically and embody their own authentic leadership. And so there's been a lot of progress, but look, there's a lot of work to be done. And so it is kind of the vision to keep going, reach more people, help them. And then also what has changed in the vision is how people are learning is becoming increasingly different. The pandemic accelerated that trend. I mean, here we are doing this virtual podcast, right, on your YouTube channel. And so how people are learning has changed, and we're trying to meet them where they are. And the type of communication that people have to lead through is changing as well. So the world of communication is changing more rapidly, and we're hoping to meet and support people through that.
Exactly. It's always going to be changing, evoluting to something else. I mean, we have different generations coming with different
Yeah,
ideas, different. So it's always, that new package being open every
totally.
generation. So we love it. And that's it. We want to embrace all forms of creativity and something that was always be good, for themselves and for humanity, right? So very good. Very
Totally.
good.
And I do think, look, when I joined the corporate world and started, I mean, I've been in this business since 2001. So I've worked with a lot of leaders over
Mhm.
multiple 2.5 decades. And, there was a real homogeneity to what was allowed It was usually like a white male executive, and that was the only acceptable style. And, people kind of had to shoehorn their identities and styles into that box, right? In a way that was not healthy. And I think really organizations lost access to great talent and people weren't able to be authentic. And so that's changed remarkably so. And you look at the openness, one of the clients we work with in this space is TD, where they're very overt about saying, look, you have to show up authentically. You have to be your own leadership style. So I think that's been a big change. I think that, people are also willing and able to switch careers much more easily. And that's given people a lot more freedom to speak up in the workplace. It used to be there was the tenor was deference, right? If an executive would say something that people didn't like, they would kind of have to toe the line. And now people are willing to speak up and challenge kind of the narrative. And I think, look, that's more challenging for senior leaders, but it also has greater potential that you can really engage and reach your workforce. So I think that's been a really important change as well. So, change causes challenges, but also comes with it great opportunity for leaders.
That's a perfect segue for the next question because
Mhm.
what challenges or barriers have you come across in your work and how were you able to overcome them?
Yeah, I think, I've been, I'll kind of split that, right? So one is I work, our organization works with clients. And so we're helping them navigate challenges. And there's me personally, as leader. So just finishing up on that first topic, I kind of articulate a few changes to leaders. Look, I think the last one I'll add is that I can say I don't think it's never been a more challenging time to be a leader in the world of work. I think when you look at, I would say though, that does come with, there's never been greater opportunity to be an authentic, truly engaged leader. So the challenges, I mentioned employees, they're willing to say whatever they think to you now, right? They're demanding more. And I would also say that there are more pressures on leaders. The kind of time that leaders used to have to be successful, the insulation, it's all disappearing. And so the clients we work with across all walks of profession, government, not for profit, for profit, they all report anecdotally much higher levels of stress and feeling the pressure to perform. They have more direct reports, and those direct reports are less patient with them. So it is tough. And in fact, I just saw an article this morning that said, forget climbing the corporate ladder. Many people want to descend the corporate ladder, right? They're saying it's not worth it for me. The result, the being in aspiring to senior leadership is not as rewarding. Now, the flip side of that I've seen is there's never been a time when you can create a more truly connected, engaged workforce. I mean, because people are saying, I can lead authentically. I can reach people through multiple channels of communication. I can actually understand what my workforce wants. And so I do see leaders who are more engaged in the work they do than ever before. So I think that kind of wraps the changes and challenges I've seen. For me, I'm kind of a rare, bird these days in that I'm a lifer. I've been in this business since '01. My mom started the business back in the '80s. It was a sole practice. I came on, I said, look, I want to build and grow this. And I did, and I bought the company from her. So my journey and what's changed for me is more, the journey as an entrepreneur and as a leader in this space. And I do think some of the challenges I've articulated, like engaging your workforce, are new. But one of the biggest ones I've, contended with, which ultimately I think is a benefit, is we've become a fully remote or remote first company is what we call it. So in COVID, our workforce is geographically dispersed. We have employees across North America. We have contractors in Latin America. We have people everywhere. And we began working more as a global company in COVID. And then when COVID hit, we had an office. We signed an office lease in March 2020 in Toronto. And we just realized, we could be a more productive company because we're global, because we're working with clients globally if we went fully remote. So it's been overall a very positive. Our employees report some of the highest engagement scores they've ever reported. But you really have to work at things like connection. You have to work at onboarding. You have to work at all the kind of informal things. Like just last week, we were having a call with our leadership team, and we were talking about the fact that no one's picking up the phone to call each other because this day and age you do it Slack, GChat, and younger people report not wanting to talk on the phone as much. And so it's just a new challenge, right, to have to navigate, but one in our view worth the payoff.
Yeah, exactly. The change, and we have to just kind of adjust to that change, but also kind of um remodel the old as well. Like you're saying, a lot of people want to
Hmm.
descend on the corporate ladder, but that must be because one, it's either they want to be their own creative source, to be their own leader, or
Hmm.
two, something is not comfortable for them anymore. Things just don't fit. Something, maybe it's old with a new mind, an old a way
Hmm.
of doing things in an office with new people coming in with a new mind, a new generation. So that it's not gelling. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think, there was a 20 some years ago, there was the sense that as you progress, things will get better, things will get easier, you'll make more money, you'll have more responsibility, you'll stay with this organization. And I think, a lot of people, COVID really accelerated this. People said, look, I'm with my family now. And what was I chasing? What was I chasing before? And does more money really, is that really going to drive my happiness? So I think I see that with a lot of corporate clients. I had a conversation with a, very capable, just below executive individual who said they want me to move up to the next level. And I said, well, isn't that great? And she said to me, no. She said, I like it where I am. If I move up, yeah, I'll make a little bit more money, but I'm gonna have to work more. I'm gonna have to be in the office more, and I'll have to deal with more people challenges. She said, my challenge is figuring out how to not get that job. I mean, this was a conversation I never would have had, 20 years ago. But I think people are more aware about life and balance, and not that there aren't driven people who make that decision to say, I do want that, but I think it's no longer just the default.
Exactly. 100%. Okay,
Oh,
so what are you working on currently? What are some of the priorities you're working on?
yeah, and then I'm curious, maybe I'll as a podcaster, I usually get to ask a lot of questions. So I'm just curious, tell me about your audience and tell me about what they're most interested in, why they tune in to your show. And then I'll answer your question.
We have such a walk of life, different aspects. I mean, all together, we collaborate together, different organizations, whether they're not for profit, whether they're for
Hmm.
profit, whether they're co-ops. We interview such a wide range,
Right.
but me doing some of the interviews and I'm speaking, it's so relative. It doesn't matter what sector you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom line, we're all doing a, how can I put it? a, a humanist job, meaning
Right.
we're trying to help community. We're trying to help the next generation. We're trying to make this world a better place,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to fix some of the wrongs of the past, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I see that people are really saying, "Wow, these are supposed to be the leaders, the change makers, the doers. The ones that will right the wrongs of the past. Let me
Mm-hmm.
listen in. Let me tune in." That's
But
my
yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's very helpful. And I think, it's why you can have such a broad kind of look at your guest list. It's quite varied, right? Um, and so yeah, so when I look at what we're working on, what I'm working on, for me personally, I run and operate the business. So I'm always looking, how do we grow? How do we, and for us, a big way to do it is to figure out how are the needs of the world around communication evolving? Like where are the new areas that people need to be able to communicate their ideas? And what are the skills they need? And then how do we then update or create offerings and content? So a couple things that we're building this year, one area that has become phenomenally important is storytelling. So we've always had a short program, a module on storytelling. We're in the process of creating an entire program on storytelling, a multi-day program. And it's really looking at how do you tell stories that inspire and can be married with what you're trying to do professionally. So it's, whether you're an accountant or you're a community, leader, how does intentional storytelling come into play? And there's So that's one thing that's kind of got me charged up right now. It's really interesting. And the other thing working on is we're thinking about, we've traditionally offered our program, like when I started, all of the work that we did was at the executive level. Like I started my career as a speechwriter for CEOs. And over time, which has been really exciting, I referenced this earlier, people we've moved out of the C-suite because the skills around leadership communication that people require have really been driven across and into organizations. And so now we're saying, oh, what about new managers? We're hearing a lot. People have recently been promoted into a manager role, and they think, what does it mean to be a good communicator as a manager? How do I manage conflict? How do I give feedback? How do I have tough conversations with people now that I'm not just their peer? And so that's another program I'm working on. So we're always looking at new content, and then we're looking at new ways to teach content. So you can't live in the world today without hearing AI, right? And so in the last year, we launched an AI coach called Eli, which is expert learning. Oh my gosh, my team's gonna hit me for this. Um, it's expert learning something, and they're gonna get me for forgetting the I. But basically, what it is after you take training with us, you get to use Eli, and it's a virtual coach that can attend your meetings. It can tell you the rate of word delivery that you're using. It talk to you about your tone. It can talk to you about if your language is inclusive, and it gives you feedback over time, and you can practice with it. You can rehearse if you have a big presentation. So that's been something we've brought to clients. And now we're looking at, are there other tools that we can use to sustain learning? So for example, if you come to that storytelling course, maybe an AI sends you modules of work to do between the sessions or after the sessions to build it. So we're exploring how can we use these new technologies not to replace the work that we believe is best done by a person, but to sustain and deepen that learning. So those are a couple of things that are kind of turning my lights on these days.
Right, right. Amazing. So, how do you feel about the future of social impact? Because, that's something that is a word that we use, and
Mhm.
we use it all the time. Social impact,
Yeah,
so, and that keyword too is impact. So we know
right,
that there has to be an outcome, a positive or, negative if it doesn't
right.
work. But at the end of the day, an outcome has to happen with, having such a, uh, that forward type of motion. So how do you feel about social impact in Canada?
Well, I think it's needed. Let me just start there. In the last, I've been, the Humphrey Group, we've made an intentional effort to become more ESG focused. We align with, some of the UN's development goals. And so, and we believe in partnering in the communities with organizations who are already doing amazing work. So in Canada for the last several years, we've partnered, food insecurity has become a huge issue. And so we've been partnering in BC and in Ontario with organizations. Here in Ontario, we partner with the Daily Bread, which is, really kind of overwhelmed and inundated by need to address food insecurity. And then I've also been really honored to join the board of a national organization called Mothers Matters Center, which is a phenomenal organization. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but what it does is it's funded by the national, like the federal government supporting refugees, and it provides funding to community groups who send home visitors into homes to help teach new refugee or immigrant mothers to teach their children. And then once their children graduate, those mothers then become the home care visitors. So it's very much a bottom-up organization. I joined this year and I was at the, offsite and board meeting. I met some of the phenomenal women who have become these local, home care visitors and the women who coordinate the programs. And you see the impact it makes. It is amazing. But you also learn, whether it's food insecurity or new arrivals to Canada, you learn the incredible uh, dearth of support and help that's needed. So, I'm both optimistic about the impact that organizations like these are having, but I also, you can't help but hear, whether it's food insecurity or, newcomer services, the need has never been greater. And so I think we all need in some ways to find either be part of an organization or support an organization that's making an impact because it's really necessary.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the nose there with the, food insecurity and housing. That seems to be the
Yeah,
two hot
housing too,
topics,
right? Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah, the housing is really huge, especially with newcomers coming in. That was the talk, like where are we going to put them? Where are they going to house them? So it's a lot. So
Totally.
it is imperative to have that social impact and really come together and collaborate because
Hmm.
what I may have, what you may have, we come together. It's a powerhouse. We can change so many lives. So that's why we
Totally.
do the things that we do, right?
Totally. And what I've seen is, look, there are a lot of organizations that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are a lot of great organizations out there who know what they're doing. And
Hmm.
so, we can all just find it, just get involved, volunteer, write a
Absolutely.
check, whatever the case. But it is, and you mentioned those two, food insecurity and housing. And what's so challenging is these often intersect, right? Where you'll have people who face multiple challenges all at once. And so it is difficult. There are tough times right now for people in Canada.
That's
Like
right.
listening to Daily Bread, you would have thought kind of post-COVID things would have improved, but they've said their demand has never been higher. And what's remarkable is, you think of growing up, you heard about a food bank as for someone who's unemployed, right, or unhoused. Now it's working professionals who
Yeah,
cannot, they can't pay the mortgage or they can't pay the
that's right.
rent. So people are really feeling it, and I think we all just, it's incumbent on us who can help to somehow get involved in some cause.
That's right. That's right. Excellent. So, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. I think that's like back to your question of like, how has life changed? Just kind of getting a little bit, theoretical here. When I took over when I took over the Humphrey Group in 2014, I really kind of thought to myself, all right, I'm going to build the business, and then once I get to this point, I'll be set. Life will be easy. Everything will run well. It'll be great. And you never feel that. You never feel that. And so it's really it's kind of a philosophical experiment, right? Like when have you made it? What is the win? When can you declare victory? And as a business owner, and I'm sure it's the same thing if you're running a social enterprise or social impact, there's never a finish line, right? And so you have to say, okay, how do I energize myself and stay and fuel the people I work with or I collaborate with? You really have to go back to that why. Like, what is the purpose we're doing? So I would say, my ultimate aspiration, this is a long-winded answer to your question. My ultimate aspiration is to just embrace and enjoy the journey of running and growing this company. To surround myself with people who I love working with and who want to tackle the challenges that will be inevitable together, and to derive satisfaction from the impact that we have on people. We trained 9,000 people last year, and I really try to get involved with delivering some of the work myself because it's in the end it's you see the impact. And this year one of our themes is get close to the magic, which is that we think what we do is magical, when you see the impact it has on people who go through our training. So we're encouraging everyone, because when you're virtual, to get out, go meet with the clients, see the impact of the work. And so it is, as I'm 45 now, and I start to think like, how do I really embrace this journey and see it? So that's really, I would say, that's to be enjoying the journey along the way, as long as it lasts.
So important because you don't want to burn out either. You understand?
Yeah,
You have your life, your family, your everything. So, you're pouring into people, but you don't want to pour out too much of your own cup. You have to
right.
keep it filled. Yeah.
Right. And there's like I like Brene Brown, right, who talks a lot about, vulnerability, and I think, we can often be our own harsh critics, and I think like if you look at whether you're in a company or you're like running Daily Bread, right? It's never ending, right? And so you can
Never.
pressure yourself and say, I haven't done enough. We've got to do more. It's never enough. Or you can say, look, I'm making an impact. I'm doing my best. And
Yeah,
just that's all I can do. Let's just keep going. And I think
that's
that's
it.
kind of what we have to do, right? And to do this for the long run. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, and that's
Yeah,
when, and to embrace those moments where you meet someone or work with someone, they say, wow, that made an impact on my life. I think that's really rewarding. And I try and savor those more and more.
that's excellent. Amazing. So, wow, Bart, this has been really inspirational. I know a lot of people will take, get a lot of nuggets from this. And
Oh, great.
so, if you can please give us your closing thoughts and your calls to actions at this time.
Yeah, well, thank you first of all for having me on this and for all that you do and for, engaging community leaders and helping to fuel them. So first of all, I'd say, look, people listening, like you have it within you to lead. That's one of the things I believe, right? Like it's leadership is not a title, it's not associated with how many people you have or what you're paid or whatever. Every person has it within them to lead, and it really stems from this be my second point is know what your why is, know what you stand for, know what's driving you, and be able to articulate that, right? To think about, take that time to write it down. What are the three beliefs I have that I want to make sure I articulate. Um, and then, so that's my second point. I'd say third, there's, enjoy the journey, right? Like find those wins, find the people you inspire and celebrate those because they'll fuel you. So yeah, that's what I'd share. I mean, for people who want more research, if you're interested on the communication front, I do a podcast. It's called the Inspire Podcast. We've got 6 seasons done, over 100,000 listens, and I bring guests on just like this to talk about how to be a more inspiring leader and communicator. It's on all the platforms. But yeah, feel free to download there. Connect with me on LinkedIn if I can help in any way. I'm more than pleased to. So that would
Awesome.
be
So definitely you'll get some listeners on your podcast, and we will definitely, this is not the last, so I'm sure we will connect.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Love
have
what
a
you're
solid
doing, and
group.
feel free
Yes.
if there's anything I can do to amplify your story, your
Yeah.
message, don't hesitate.
For sure. Appreciate this so much, Bar. We thank you for your
Yeah.
time and your leadership. And we will definitely collab soon. And we will end the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We acknowledge all our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So, Bart, thank you once again, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thanks for having me on the show.